In March, a guy named Danny opened his dream restaurant in Austin, Texas. $200,000 in savings and a small business loan, gone into one building. 8 months later, the doors were locked, the equipment was being sold on Facebook Marketplace, and Danny was $60,000 in debt. I talked to people who watched it happen, and the mistake that killed it wasn't the food. It wasn't the location. It was one decision he made in week 2, and almost every failed restaurant makes the exact same one. Today, I'm walking you through Danny's entire timeline, month by month, so you can see precisely where it went wrong, why it went wrong, and the exact moment it became unfixable. Because this same pattern is playing out right now in Nashville, in Denver, in Chicago, in Miami. Anywhere someone's chasing the restaurant dream with a bank account that can't survive a bad quarter. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to check before you ever sign a lease. And I'll also show you what a restaurant owner in Charlotte did differently in almost the exact same situation that saved her business. Danny had worked in kitchens for 12 years, line cook in Chicago, sous chef in Nashville, before moving to Austin to finally open his own place. This wasn't some impulsive decision. He'd been planning it for years, saving every extra paycheck, watching other chefs open their own spots and thinking, I can do that better. He'd saved $80,000 on his own, added a $120,000 spa loan on top of that. Total, $200,000. On paper, that's real money. That's more capital than most first-time restaurant owners ever get their hands on. Opening night was packed. Line out the door. Instagram full of 5-star reviews. Local food bloggers showed up unprompted. For the first 3 weeks, Danny thought he'd made it. He told his old co-workers back in Chicago that the hardest part was over. But here's what he didn't calculate. And this is the first crack in the foundation. $148,000 of that $200,000 was already spent before a single customer walked through the door. Kitchen equipment, build-out, furniture, a walk-in cooler, permits, a liquor license that took 4 months longer than expected. That left $52,000 to actually run the business. Sound like a lot? It's not. Not even close. And almost nobody explains this part to first-time owners. The money you raise and the money you have to actually operate the business are two completely different numbers. Here's the part almost nobody tells first-time owners. The danger isn't in month 1. It's in month 3, when the excitement wears off. That's when the real numbers show up. And that's when you find out if the business actually works, or if it was just riding on opening week hype. Month 2, foot traffic dropped 30%. This is completely normal. The grand opening crowd always fades. Every restaurant consultant will tell you that. But Danny didn't adjust. He kept staffing like it was still opening week. Full kitchen crew, full server team, same food costs, same hours. By month 3, he was losing about $6,000 a month. Not a crisis yet. He still had $34,000 left. But here's where most restaurant owners make the mistake that actually kills the business. Instead of cutting costs immediately, Danny told himself it'll pick back up. Just wait for the summer crowd. Just wait for the reviews to spread. Just wait. Compare that to how Howard Schultz talks about building Starbucks. He's been open for years about scaling one store at a time, watching the actual numbers on each individual location before expanding to the next one, instead of assuming momentum would just carry the business forward on its own. That's a founder who treated growth as something you earn through evidence, not something you assume because opening night went well. Danny did the opposite. He kept spending like growth was guaranteed, because emotionally, walking away from full staffing felt like admitting defeat. Now here's where it gets worse, because in month 4, Danny made the one decision that sealed everything. When the business account hit $12,000, Danny didn't close early, cut hours, or lay off staff. He put payroll on a personal credit card. Just for one pay period, he told himself, just to get through it, just this once. That one decision is the single most common reason restaurants fail. Not bad food, not bad location. It's using personal debt to cover business losses instead of cutting the business down to what it can actually afford to be. The moment you start using personal debt to fund a business that isn't profitable, you stopped running a business and started running a slow-motion financial collapse. Once that started, it didn't stop. By month 6, Danny owed $34,000 across 3 credit cards. He was working 80-hour weeks, cutting his own pay to zero, and still losing money every single week. His girlfriend was covering his rent. He stopped telling his parents how bad it actually was. I looked at similar cases in Denver and Miami, and the pattern was almost identical. Owner sees a slow month, doesn't cut costs fast enough, bridges the gap with personal debt, and the debt grows faster than the business can possibly recover from. In the Denver case, the owner actually had a profitable menu and loyal customers. The food wasn't the problem at all. The debt spiral was the entire problem. But here's the story I actually want you to remember, because it shows the exact opposite decision, made under almost identical pressure. A woman named Pryor opened a restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina, about a year before Danny opened his. Similar budget, similar build-out costs, similar slow month 3. But when her sales dipped, Pryor did something most owners are too proud to do. She cut her staff schedule by 40%, closed 2 days a week instead of staying open 7, and personally worked the register herself instead of paying someone else to. It felt like a step backward. It felt embarrassing, watching a competitor down the street stay open every single day. But it kept her business account from ever touching zero. 6 months later, when the slow season passed and business picked back up naturally, she still had cash in reserve to rehire and expand her hours. Today, that restaurant is still open, still profitable, and Pryor has said in local interviews that the willingness to shrink the business temporarily is the only reason it still exists. So, what should Danny have done instead? This is the part that actually matters, because this is the fix, and it's the same fix whether you're opening a restaurant in Austin or starting any small business anywhere in the country. Every restaurant consultant who actually studies failure rates says the same thing. Before you open, you need 6 months of operating losses sitting in reserve, completely untouched. Not hoped for, not something you'll figure out later. Calculated in advance and set aside before you sign anything. If Danny had run the math honestly before opening, he'd have seen he needed closer to $280,000 to safely open that restaurant, not $200,000. That's not a small gap. That's the entire difference between a business that survives its first year and one that doesn't. The owners who make it past year 1, in Austin, in Chicago, in Nashville, in Charlotte, anywhere in this country, they treat the first 6 months like triage, not celebration. They watch cash weekly, not monthly. They cut staff and hours the moment sales dip, instead of waiting to see if things magically pick back up on their own. And they never, ever bridge business losses with personal debt, because once you cross that line, the business is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. And neither does the owner, until the credit card statements stop being something you can ignore. If this is actually useful to you, hit subscribe. Because every week on this channel, we break down real business failures and real business saves, city by city, so you don't have to learn these lessons the expensive way. So, here's the one thing I want you to take from both of these stories. Your restaurant, or any business you're building, doesn't fail because customers stop showing up. It fails because you run out of runway to fix the problem before the money is completely gone. Cash reserve isn't a backup plan sitting off to the side. It is the business plan. The menu, the branding, the location, all of that matters, but none of it matters if you don't survive long enough to let it work. If you're building something right now, restaurant or not, stop what you're doing and calculate your 6-month number today. Sit down, do the math, and be honest with yourself about it. That single number will tell you whether you're actually ready to open, or whether you're about to become the next Danny instead of the next Pryor. Drop your city in the comments, and I'll tell you what the failure risk actually looks like where you are. Learn, build, grow, succeed.